What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show. The best place for everything fantasy football. Every episode gets you one step closer to the goal of winning your fantasy football championship. From rankings, breakouts, sleepers, best ball drafts, DFS plays. If winning is your objective, this is the place to be. Let's piece the puzzle together and get you that trophy. Here's your host, Sleazeball, right here on My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Are you ready for some football?
We're ready for some football, baby.
Welcome into episode 11, my top 10 running back handcuffs. Everybody, we are 38 days away from the NFL kickoff. Can you feel it? So the first thing I want to talk about here is how I'm going to draft the handcuffs, because I love handcuffing my running backs, and the breakdown of value on each one. And these handcuffs aren't going to be the split back situation. So I don't find that as a handcuff value. So players like Achane, players like Jaylen Warren, players like Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard are drafted in the same area, just like Brian Robinson and Austin Ekeler in the same area, like Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks. I don't find that as handcuffs to me. These players are going to be players that if the star running back goes down, these are my favorite running back values that are going to become a low-end RB2 or a possible, or a high-end RB2 or a possible low-end RB1. And these are going to be my favorite values to target. So it's going to look a little different than whatever you research and look at the same time. So let's dive into it here, guys, starting off with number one here. And it's going to be Blake Corum, drafted out of Michigan to the Los Angeles Rams in the third round. Now, this is how I'm going to look at the strategy here. So I love drafting Kendre Williams. I fully believe that he is going to be the guy, a top 5 running back. A lot of people think Corum is going to eat in. That's why they drafted him. I don't believe that at all. I think he'll see 20-25% touches to spell him. Now, Blake Corum has had so much wear and tear on his tires as well coming through Michigan. I mean, this guy had over 500 rushing attempts in the past 2 seasons, going for 1,245 yards, 1,463 yards, 27 combined touchdowns at the same time. He also, 27 combined touchdowns senior year, 18 the other season. So this guy is finds the end zone very, very easy, but you got to think he's playing at Michigan as well. So his numbers last season with Jim Harbaugh, he likes to ground and pound the run. They're also super inflated because Michigan was up 20-plus points in 9 of their games, just running the clock out, smashing teams, and Corum was just absolutely getting used. Now, in the 10th round, why this value is so strong to me, which is very, very high to take a handcuff in your drafts, right? He's going ADP 112, which is right at the 10th round if you're playing 12-man leagues. Now, you're going to get Kendre Williams. Some people will reach on Kendre Williams even high second round, mid-late second, right? So the value is so high to draft him in the 10th to make sure you handcuff him with Kendre, strictly because last season you saw how McVay uses his running back when there's one of them. And Kendre Williams had an 82% snap share last season, number 1 in the NFL. This is why I rank Blake Corum as my number 1 running back handcuff, because he is literally going to be a full-blown RB1, absolutely smash play every week if anything happens to Kendre. We know he has an injury history as well. So this is why Blake Corum is my number 1 handcuff this season. Sticking with the rookies, my number 2 handcuff is going to be Trey Benson. Now, in no way, shape, or form, heading back to Corum as well, do I think that these guys are going to overtake Kendre Williams or James Conner. It is their show. James Conner is also missed 4 games the past 2 years. We know he has an injury history. Now, Trey Benson also going in the 10th round makes it harder with James Conner, right? Because James Conner goes in about the 7th. So this one to me isn't the same as Kendre and Blake Corum, which you can get at 2nd to 10 value. This one's 7 to 10 value, right? So you're not going to really want to pick 2 running backs in that same area. This is why I draft a ton of Trey Benson. I also love James Conner at value as well. You know what I mean? So don't get that confused. But I've been targeting Trey Benson a lot more at cheaper value, strictly because this reason. James Conner's injuries the past 2 years, missed 4 games, right? But his backup running backs that come in and step up behind him have nowhere near the athletic skills of Trey Benson. So if Trey Benson gets his shot at all, say, I'm not wishing an injury on James Conner or whatever it is, but if James Conner gets hurt at any point this season and Trey Benson steps in, and in this offense with Kyler, Marvin, and Trey McBride, it's going to be a high-flying Cliff Kingsbury, fast-paced offense. And if he gets his time to shine, he's going to look better than any other running back that has been behind James Conner, which will make him earn his role the rest of the way, is what I really, really like here as well. So you're not only going to get an RB1 play from maybe Conner missing, 2-4 games, whatever it is. He usually misses that yearly, So you're going to get an RB1 that's then going to become a piece of the offense, which is what I really, really love about Trey Benson this season. His Florida State numbers, though, 156 attempts, 906 yards, 14 touchdowns. Through the air, he only had 20 receptions, 227 yards, and 1 touchdown. So he had 15 total touchdowns and about 1,200 yards, which was okay. I didn't find this that flashy, but I really, really love the landing spot that he's in, and it's going to be one of the best value pieces in fantasy football this season. My number 3 handcuff to target this season, and if I'm drafting Bijan Robinson, who I think is going absolutely bonkers this season, I am 100% handcuffing him with the value of Tyler Allgeier at ADP 157. Now, this man has literally had a 1,000-yard season and is still a backup running back. Even last season had 683 yards, 186 attempts, 4 touchdowns. Arthur Smith used a weird, they even used Cordell Patterson last year. Now it is going to be the Bijan show, and 100% if you are in round 13 and 14 and you took Bijan at the first and you filled out your roster, you should 100% be targeting Tyler Allgeier, because God forbid anything happens to Bijan, he will become a low-end RB1 100%, and he even gets work in the passing game. So his first 2 years, let alone he's only playing, 50 to 60% snaps, or sometimes 45%, depending if you look at the rookie season. He's had 50 receptions in that time. So he can catch the ball out the backfield too. Kirk Cousins, we know he loves to check it down as well too. But if anything happens to Bijan Robinson, Tyler Allgeier would be an absolute league-winning running back smash value play that I absolutely love handcuffing in this round because it works out so well. Like I was saying with the Trey Benson, James Conner, that's a lot tougher with 7 to 10 value. This is a first round to 13 to 14th round value, which is absolute smash smart fantasy football. Number 4 is the Hulk out of Wisconsin, Braelon Allen, that the Jets decided to bring in to be the health piece to back up Breece Hall if anything happens. This man is a tank. So Wisconsin junior year, had 984 yards. His 2 years before that, he had 1,200 and 1,200. 12 touchdowns. He had 10 plus TDs every single year at Wisconsin as well, averaging at 35 total in his career. Now here's the plus side with Braelon Allen. They're pumping it up all camp, how big he is, how much in shape he is. But what they're talking about the most is how good his pass catching ability is out the backfield. I don't think he's going to take Breece Hall's third down role, right? Breece Hall had like 97 receptions, led the NFL last year in receptions, right? But if anything happens to Breece Hall, Braelon Allen is not just a low-end RB1. He is a middle-tier RB1. The Jets have a massive offensive line. They have a great defense that's going to give them the ball back. It does come down to Aaron Rodgers staying healthy, because I don't think Braelon Allen could play the role. Say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and Breece Hall gets hurt. He would not be able to play the Breece Hall role that Breece did last season. I don't believe that at all. But this man near the goal line is going to be a freaking tank, man. Look at how big this guy is. Like, he just looks like he's built in a lab. So if the way the draft strategy works on this is even more beautiful than the Bijan Robinson before. So this is going to be Breece Hall in the first, and this is an absolute smash handcuff in the 16th round. I mean, you already have your roster built out. You're definitely going to tag Braelon Allen. I would even reach up around for Braelon Allen here because it's so low at his ADP. I don't understand it. He is going to be the guy if something happens, and this is a great, great value play in fantasy football. Number 5 is going to be Zach Charbonnet for the Seattle Seahawks. So last season, even on Twitter and everything, everyone was trying to battle me, trying to say that Zach Charbonnet is going to take the job from Kenneth Walker. No, he's not. Kenneth Walker is just flat out a better running back. If you don't know it by now, you're going to learn it. But the thing with Kenneth Walker that you have to worry about is he does miss ticky-tack games here and there, right? So 2 games last season, 2 games the season before, kind of a James Conner trend going. He's a lot younger than James Conner. But if the injury strikes here, you have to look at the value that happens with Zach Charbonnet. And this is why I'm a little lower on him than most as a 5th handcuff. Some people have him at 2 or 3. So Zach Charbonnet last season when he was out, 85% and 88% snap shares in the 2 games missed, but his production was just painful, man. If you're playing 85 and 88% snaps and you score 9 and 7 points in fantasy football and 0.5 scoring, that's not something I'm very interested in or happy about. I do think he's going to get better this season. He still had 108 attempts for 462 yards and a touchdown. Passing game wasn't as effective as people thought. But the camp talk right now is that he's doing a lot better. He's, coming into his own, 2nd season. I get all that. And if anything happens to Kenneth Walker, I am firmly going to be saying that Zach Charbonnet will be a high-end RB2, middle-ish RB2, especially with Ben grabbing the new offense and how it looks. It may even help him anyways with the fast-paced offense as it goes. They may be rotating backs more anyways. But now the draft strategy that comes into this one is also a little trickier. And it's something I wouldn't recommend with Kenneth Walker's ADP being about, 4 rounds ahead of him. So it's kind of like the Trey Benson, James Conner. I would either take Kenneth Walker in this situation, or I would try to grab Zach Charbonnet. I wouldn't try and grab them both because it's too close of a confliction right there between the 7th and the 11th round, which I don't want to go through. But I do love Zach Charbonnet. If anything happens to Kenneth Walker, absolute smash running back. Number 6. And this one is one of my legit favorite running backs to draft, best ball, redraft, trade for in Dynasty right now. And it is Ty Chandler, currently going off the board at ADP 135. Now, you have Aaron Jones, who the Vikings bring in. Aaron Jones is heading into age 30 with 5 MCL injuries to his right leg, an ankle injury to his right leg, a thigh injury to his right leg. All his injuries in his career are on one leg, and he's heading into age 30. I don't understand why people are drafting him. I get the upside of when he's healthy. Yeah, he balls out 100%. He's a great running back when he's out there. I just don't see them. Quarterback situation is Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy. I mean, I am staying away from Aaron Jones at all cost, and I am drafting Ty Chandler like he's my flex play running back this season. And they're already talking about in camp that he's been working with the ones the whole way, even with Jones. I am so high on Ty Chandler this season. Even last year down the stretch, say you had running back injuries and he stepped in for your team, he had a 20-point week last season. And he had an average of 10 points per game every single time he was out there, which if you look at it, and I was just talking about Zach Charbonnet, probably better numbers than Zach Charbonnet with less snap shares in the game. I mean, imagine if Ty Chandler was getting that 88 to 85% looks. He's a great pass catching back as well, averaging about 30 yards a game when he's out there. I'm very, very enamored with this pick. I have to put him as a handcuff, statistically, but I am drafting him this season 100% like he's going to be the starting running back because I have zero faith in a 30-year-old Aaron Jones staying healthy. I know it's bad to, wish an injury on someone, but it's just so sketch for me that I love drafting Ty Chandler this season a ton. Number 7 is going to be the electric Oregon running back, Bucky Irving, that Tampa Bay brought in. And I firmly believe they brought him in strictly because Rachaad White's workload was so crazy last season. I mean, I don't see him holding that same snap share percentage of 78% that he had last season, which was absolutely bonkers. So they bring in a change of pace speedster, Bucky Irving. In college, he had 186 attempts, 1,180 yards, 11 touchdowns. Through the air, though, get excited here. Could even take the third down role just to spell Rachaad White a little bit. 56 receptions, 413 yards in college, 2 touchdowns. Bigger than any of the running back rookies I've named so far by plus 200 yards. This man is a threat all across the field. Now, they do lose Dave Canales, which is, a little worrisome for me for this offense. It's going to look the same. They have to learn a whole new playbook with Liam Cohen from Kentucky. He brings a high-flying, fast-paced offense from Kentucky as well. I'm just not as high on the Bucs offense, but if Rachaad White were to go down, this is the piece you have to have behind him. And the value works out absolutely great here with Rachaad White being about a 4th to 5th round ADP pick. And then you can come back around 16, possibly 17, depends on how far he falls or how the draft's going, that you can get your handcuff piece that is 100% going to be an impactful starting player, which is the goal with this whole video, is to make sure that the running back behind him that you have is the locked-in guy that is going to be a starter for your team. And this guy, Bucky Irving, I am 100% trying to handcuff Rachaad White with. The draft strategy works perfect, and if he hits the field and gets out there, he'll be just like, well, my best example here it would just be like a Trey Benson here, right? If Rachaad White were to miss time, I firmly believe that Bucky Irving would look so good that he would earn himself a little more of a role. So this is another reason why I love Bucky Irving so much this season. Number 8, and this one pains me a lot, it is Kendre Miller, currently going off the board at ADP 142. I was so high on him, but injuries have just derailed this youngster. He's still only 21 years old, which is incredibly ridiculous. So in his TCU game in the college championship, absolutely blasted his knee, got hurt. Drafted by the Saints, rookie year. Then he goes up to New Orleans and he misses another 8 games. And now we're heading into training camp now, and they're saying another hamstring injury. I just want to see this guy healthy because when he's out there on the field, he's an absolute stud. At TCU, he had 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. It was unbelievable season, pretty much backpacking the Horned Frogs on the ground the whole way, even against good teams. And if he just can get back to health, if anything were to happen to Alvin Kamara, I think Alvin Kamara is going to have a monster year this season. Don't get me wrong there. But if anything were to happen to Alvin Kamara, I don't think the Jamal Williams role is going to be the same as people think it was. Like, he's not the goal line back in Detroit getting 15-plus touchdowns. I don't think that's going to happen. If you saw how Kendre Miller looked last season, at the end of the season, so if you pull up his stats, Kendre Miller had a 20-point fantasy game, which shows his flashes. And I would rank him so much higher if I just wasn't nervous about his injury status, because Alvin Kamara has had a lot of injuries in his career. You have to remember that as well. And I know they use Taysom Hill in the Joker package and all that, but I firmly believe that Kendre Miller's would be an absolute low-end RB1 if he were to get the full go role and be absolutely healthy. But it's just such a scare for me with his health. I'm still willing, because his ADP right now is at 142. I'm still willing to go for the 100% handcuff play here, right? So if I have Alvin Kamara going around ADP 48 to 50, 4th, 5th round, however he falls, some people jump on him early. I still have great value here because I think that he's going to drop to like the 15th, 16th round because injuries scare everyone away drafting. And he comes back and anything happens, you have a great, great piece. So Kendre Miller, I'm going to leave at 8. I would love to put him, man, if he was healthy, I would put him right behind Tyler Allgeier at number 4. So that's how high I really would be. The injuries scare me away, but I'm still going to keep him number 8, and I'm still going to keep him on my radar as a handcuff this season. Number 9 is going to be the Trojan Marshon Lloyd, who I was so high on coming out to the draft, even with his fumbling problems. That can be fixed, or I hope it can be fixed. It better be fixed, or he's never going to play running back. But now he lands behind Josh Jacobs, and there's some people out there that think that Josh Jacobs is going to lose 30 to 35% snaps to Marshon Lloyd. No, it's not. That's not going to happen. And A.J. Dillon has even gotten hyped up from them picking Marshon Lloyd and supposedly is in the best shape of his life. And he was a cut candidate before that from the updates. So I firmly believe that Marshon Lloyd is going to be the backup here. But this is, again, going to need a Josh Jacobs injury 100%. But again, the value here with his ADP at 148 works out perfect because you're going to get Josh Jacobs in the second round. You're going to build your roster all the way up and about round 12 to 13 if you already have the roster how you want. And you're not, you say it's not a keeper league or something, your value there is absolutely amazing. And speaking of keeper status on this, Josh Jacobs on a 1-year and out contract as well. So this man could be the future heading forward, but I see Josh Jacobs balling out and staying in Green Bay. I mean, you're going to have an offense where you're not facing any stacked boxes at all. The 4 wide receivers, 2 good tight ends in Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. You're going to have Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson if he can get his hamstring healthy. And I love Dontavian Wicks. This is going to be a nightmare to stop for defenses no matter who the running back is, in my opinion. And if anything were to happen to Josh Jacobs, God forbid, I firmly believe it would be Lloyd, but I would love to see Camp carry on here and see what happens with A.J. Dillon, because A.J. Dillon looks jacked out of his mind too as well right now. So this could be a scary handcuff play, but one I'm willing to take, again, because I can draft him later after my roster is built. And Marshon Lloyd would be an absolute beast in this offense if he becomes the RB1 behind him. I wouldn't say he'd be an RB1. I'd say he'd be middle tier RB2, but still great value and a smart play if you draft Josh Jacobs. Before I dive into my sleeper handcuff number 10, guys, make sure you smash that like and subscribe. I'm trying to bring you the best fantasy football content to help you win your leagues. And always, if you have any questions, comments, drop them in the comments. Anything fantasy football, I'll try to answer it as fast as I can. And let's dive into my last one here, guys. And the deep, dark dive running back handcuff number 10 is none other than Trey Sermon. And this one I absolutely love a ton. Look at his ADP, 292. They're already saying he's won the job as the true handcuff behind Evan Hull. And we all know that Evan Hull never stays healthy anyways. So I wouldn't even worry about that when drafting him at all. Now, the plus side here, and this is the amazing part about this pick and how valuable it is. You're going to get Jonathan Taylor into the first, beginning of the second. So this piece, again, is the last pick of your draft, or, around 18, 19, depending on how you look at it. Pluses that are immaculate that you cannot ignore. Last season, when Jonathan Taylor had his holdout for 4 games, Zach Moss stepped in, true workhorse back role. He was RB5 in those 4 games that were missed. Overall, Zach Moss was an absolute league winner for the first 5 games. Unbelievable value, 20, 20, 20, 30, 20, going absolutely nuts. Now, heading into this season, you're going to have Anthony Richardson back healthy. You're going to have a top 3 to 5 offensive line in the NFL, according to PFF. And now you're going to have the RPO style. So if anything were to happen to Jonathan Taylor, him and Trey Sermon would be this is an absolute smash play. I mean, if I can't put him as an RB1 if anything were happening to Jonathan Taylor, but I would say high-end RB2 with how the Colts offense operates. And this is an absolute great, one of my favorite handcuff plays here, because the value is so free, and you know that Evan Hull is going to be hurt every single time. So if you can get a running back this late in the draft to handcuff a superstar running back that no one's paying attention to, this is a very sneaky, smart fantasy football play that I absolutely love this season.